Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Earwax. I'm Colin, and these are my favorite albums. So, this is a new series that I've started where I'm basically just going to be doing reviews of some of my favorite albums of all time. Every single album I'm going to do in this series is going to be an A or higher, so or at least in the A range, so A minus, A plus. And, I think there's tons of albums out there that pretty easily fit into that category. And the first one that I'm going to be kicking off this series with I think is pretty undisputed when it comes to how groundbreaking and monumental it is, and that is going to be Merriweather Post Pavilion by Animal Collective. Now, this is I think the eighth full-length studio album from Animal Collective, but it really was like their breakthrough album. It's the one that saw them get at least a little bit of mainstream recognition and success. To this day, I think anyone that's listened to Animal Collective or heard of Animal Collective outside of some of the hardcore fans probably got their start off of this album. It's the one that I first discovered. Buddy of mine in high school showed me My Girls, and I was instantly hooked. I think that is still pretty much their most popular song. And, I definitely dove a little bit deeper into them at the time, but I really kind of stuck with this and Strawberry Jam. And then it took me about a year or two after hearing this album to get into the rest of their discography. And now, I mean, they're one of my favorite bands of all time. I have not their entire discography on vinyl, but I've got a good chunk of it. I will buy pretty much any Animal Collective album I see out in the wild if it's one I don't already have. But it all started for me, at least, with this album. Now, if you're not familiar with Animal Collective, they are a experimental psych pop band. So this album in particular, it was their second foray into a more like commercial sound. At least, as close to a commercial sound as they could get. They were using a lot more electronic elements, a lot more pop kind of song structure in their songwriting, and it definitely had more crossover appeal for the people that weren't necessarily into their more experimental kind of acoustic psych stuff like that they were doing earlier in their career. But that's not to say that by any means this is a like mainstream or top 40 album or anything like remotely close to that. Still absolutely oozing with their unique like experimental psych style, and it's just such a gorgeous album. The sounds that they're able to create on this are unmatched, and a lot of bands have kind of imitated it since, and even themselves have kind of gone back and tried to recreate the magic they had on this album. And while they've put out some great stuff post Merriweather Post Pavilion, I don't think anything will touch this as far as just pure musical genius goes. So important to note that this is the follow-up to Strawberry Jam, which is another great album. That was their first kind of foray into a more like pop-centric and electronic, like heavy-laced sound. This is also a follow-up to Panda Bear's solo album Person Pitch, which came out in 2007. It is widely regarded as one of the best like chillwave albums of all time, and they took a lot of the writing and recording styles that Panda Bear kind of honed on that album and incorporated them into this. If you listen to Person Pitch, you can definitely hear its influence, but they're also two completely different albums, which I love. You don't feel like this is just a copy of it, and they're both amazing and stand on their own in their own right. Now, as far as like the tracks on this thing goes, I think it's got one of the best album openers of all time in The Flowers. The way that like it very subtly starts to build and build and build, and then like when the drums and the synths and the like it's an absolute gorgeous experience. The way that it just continues to ascend, like it's in its tempo, and the different layers they add onto it, just absolutely incredible. Goes right into My Girls, which again is like the track from this album that most people know. It's definitely like the most popular track that they've ever done. It's kind of what put them on the map. And then straight from My Girls into Also Frightened, which brings it back down. So like those opening three songs are, it's such a roller coaster. You know, it starts off really nice and mellow and melodic, and then get crescendos really high and powerful in the flowers, and then My Girl is just super groovy, fun, catchy, just super easy to sing along to. And then Also Frightened kind of takes a step back, a little bit more reserved, but it definitely gives like a darker tone to, what is going to be the rest of the album. Because as brilliant as this album is, there's definitely some dichotomy to like the styles and sounds and tones like throughout this entire thing. It goes straight from Also Frightened into Summertime Close, which was the second single from this album. Also, absolutely incredible, super bouncy, bubbly, kind of like pop song. But again, still with like their traditional psych sound to it. And then like the middle of the album is absolutely incredible. The last few tracks, like the way that they close this out with Lion in a Coma, No More Runnin', and Brother Sport. Again, really fun, really bouncy. Definitely dealing with a bit more like serious subject matter as well, but in a way that like you're not getting bogged down by it. It's still you feel like kind of uplifted along with the vocals that are a bit repetitive, but very very dynamic in like what they're bringing to the table. The synth sounds that they're able to achieve on this album, it's pretty. I don't want to say like one note because it's not, but they utilize a lot of the same like tones and sounds throughout the entire album, but find new and interesting and creative ways to like bring them to the forefront of the production. The drums are incredible. Panda Bear is a very underrated drummer, and I don't think he gets as much credit as he should. The call out like filtered vocals are incredible. Again, they use them fairly frequently, but it works so well. I don't know if there's another album that's like this out there. I mean, even Strawberry Jam, even a couple of the stuff they did after this, where they were touching on a lot of the same themes and sounds, and the crazy like crunchy synths with like the really dreamy synths behind them, and like the dichotomy of that. It's not something that I think has ever been touched as far as like the quality and how it can be done. And it's just such a beautiful album. If you like more experimental electronic music, if you like psych pop, if you like anything in the middle there, this is an album you've probably listened to by now, let's be honest. But if you haven't, you have to go check it out. This is an A+. This is arguably one of my favorite albums of all time. I don't think that in this, not even just in like the specific niche genre of experimental electronic or psych pop or psych electronic, I think just across the board for like indie music in general, there's very few things that touch the quality of this album, and it's one that I will probably put on at least once or twice a year, and I'll do that every year until I die. So cool. Well, that's the first album that I'm going to be talking about in my favorite albums of all time. Let me know down in the comments if you've listened to it, what you think. If you haven't, go check it out. And as always, talk to you later. Peace.